Guys, the Sync 60 challenge has begun, and the feedback that I'm getting so far is just unbelievable. And the enthusiasm, the participation, and just the amount of energy that is coming my way from what you guys are telling me about this challenge is really exciting and really encouraging. And I do hope that you do take this seriously and don't just watch as a spectator with this challenge. I really hope that you create your own goal and you actually implement your weekly micro goals so that you can actually follow along and participate with us. I know a lot of you guys were kind of waiting for this sort of just something to push you, put your butt into gear basically to start doing something with your licensing career, or basically just to get an album done. It seems like from what I've seen already with the Sync Academy members, I know about 91 of you have been filling out your progress chart, and I'm already seeing all the awesome goals you guys are putting down for yourself. It seems like a good 70–80% of those goals are all about completing 4 tracks, 6 tracks, maybe a full album. And I totally relate to that because I remember so many times knowing that I should have been putting together a full album to submit to a library or maybe to partner with a new library. And it always was this drag because I knew that it was going to take probably a month or two to get that done. And that's a month or two of, is it really going to land somewhere? Is a library going to accept it? Am I completely wasting my time? And I would always just default to just serving my current clients, and because that was a little bit safer for me because I already had the jobs and the income generated there, right? Which is not necessarily a dumb thing to, or not a smart thing to run away from. But there is always that time where you might need to branch out a little bit and start to partner with a new library. And for, I think most of you guys, you're not in that position even yet where you have one library you're feeding. You probably need to get into that first library catalog. That's what you're looking for to do for the first time. And so this Sync 60 challenge is that sort of excuse that if you needed it to commit and focus and dedicate yourself, because you know what? You're not the only one for the next 60 days hammering out your music, okay? You're gonna have hundreds, maybe thousands of other producers also doing the same thing. So there's another incentive for you to not drag your feet on this and just be a spectator during this challenge, but actually participate, because guess what? Hundreds of producers in 60 days are going to be further along in their careers. And if you aren't also taking that step with them, you will be left behind. So again, we just started it yesterday. It's not too late to get started. Definitely put your goals down. Watch yesterday's video on my channel. I don't have it linked underneath this video, but if you just go to my YouTube channel after this, you can check it out. And if you're in Sync Academy, definitely participate. I've created a mini course for those of you that are in Sync Academy. Log in there, join the new course, and then you'll find the progress sheet there. It's an Excel sheet. Put your name in, put your goal in, and every single week we're going to make sure that we hit our goals. I actually just adjusted, thanks to one of our members, actually, I adjusted the "Did you accomplish your goal" column. I used to just have it as a text column that you could write yes or no, but I knew, even though I tell you guys only yes or no, no excuses, no stories, I know some of you guys were probably going to write something. So I actually changed the format out of this member actually showed me how to do it. It's now just a yes or no column. So you actually can't write anything. So literally the pressure is on for you for every single week. At the end of that week, that should be what you're looking forward to, is that you can go to that week 1 column and click yes. Okay. This is for Sync Academy members only. Okay. So if you're not in Sync Academy, you need to do this on your own. You can create your own Excel sheet, or basically what I recommend you guys do is you do this all publicly through your social media accounts, because you're going to create accountability that way, right? So you tell everybody that follows you or all your friends and family on your Facebook, Twitter, whatever you do, and you let everybody know, this week my goal will be to X, Y, and Z. At the end of that week, come back on, use the Sync60 hashtag if you want, and let your friends and family know, yes, I accomplished it. This is what I did. The reason why you want to put this out there and put it public is so that you have accountability, and you actually will feel a little embarrassed if you don't achieve your goal, right? You want to have that pressure on yourself. Putting deadlines and pressure on yourself seems like a bummer thing to do, but it's actually the best thing you can actually do for your career, especially since a lot of you guys are brand new to this industry, brand new to licensing, and maybe you don't have a lot of experience running a business for yourself and being your own boss. Most of us, I remember, years ago when I had all my day jobs, I was always into the sort of routine of show up somewhere, a boss tells you what to do, you just follow directions, and then you get paid. Well, when you're getting into the licensing business, there are no bosses. I mean, you have clients, right? But that's different than bosses. So you don't have somebody telling you exactly what to get done this week or today. So you do have to take some responsibility and some initiative to achieve your goals in this industry so that you can serve the needs of your clients, right? So it is a skill set you're going to have to get good at. And Sync 60 is designed to help you start building those really valuable skill sets through just the fact that you're doing this challenge and you're actually achieving it, but also with these weekly videos that I'll release here on my YouTube channel and in Sync Academy, you're going to get some new skills and some new sort of wisdom and understanding of how professionals are operating in this business, including myself and other professional producers, okay? So that's what I wanted to chime in with you guys today. I also wanted to quickly clarify something because this is a very common question that I get from various producers and various artists, musicians. And the question goes something like, you know, Jesse, I understand you talk a lot about the instrumental music and how that gets a lot of placements, but I always hear vocal music. I always hear this kind of music. There's always that and that. So the question basically is like, you're saying that most of it is the sort of popular genres that I point out, which, you know, I say rock, pop, hip hop, orchestral, minimal, corporate, sort of the more charting, popular styles of music. That's usually what you're going to find. You're going to find the most placements on TV. But of course, yes, you're going to find a polka placement. You're going to find a death metal screaming crazy song getting placed. You're going to hear some vocal tracks. You're going to hear some very minimal, just a guitar and a vocal getting placed. So there are going to be exceptions to that rule that I put out there. But I want you guys all to understand why I recommend the kind of music that I do in terms of making this your full-time job. Okay, that's the key here. Yes, if you make some great minimal ukulele music with a female vocal on top, there's definitely going to be a place for you. If you have really great music, certainly you're going to find a place for your music. I think there's going to be some placements for you, but you're going to get occasional placements. One song here, one track there, and it's going to be very sporadic because there's not a huge demand for minimal ukulele music with a female vocal on top, okay? There is some demand. I'm not saying there's none, but there's a small demand for that. So if you're looking to just, you know, you're an artist and you want to just throw some of your music out there to get some placements here and there, great. Then if you can find a non-exclusive arrangement where you can keep your music selling on iTunes or whatever you do, and you want to throw it into a library, then go for it. There's no reason why you shouldn't do that. That just potentially earns you more exposure and more income for your career. But I'm talking to a very specific type of producer when I say focus on instrumental music and focus on these main genres. Basically all the main genres that I teach, right? With Sync Edge and with Sync Academy. And the links are below if you want to check those out. But those main genres that I list on those pages, those are what I'm talking about when I say the most in-demand genres. Because my strategy and how I've been able to create that full-time income for myself, it's always been in the numbers game, okay? This is a power in numbers strategy that I employ. And that is because if you watch TV or streaming services or anything like that, you will notice, if you try to just really pay attention to the music, 80% plus of what you're hearing is instrumental music. Most of it's in the background. It's behind the actors. It's behind a narration. It's behind somebody talking. Some of it's in the foreground. It could be a feature. It can, you know, have musicians actually playing it. It can be a theme song, a jingle, right? So some of it can be more prominent, some of it less prominent. Most of your placements on your royalty checks are going to be those background instrumental cues. I can guarantee you that. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. Unless you only do vocal music, then of course you're only going to get those vocal tracks. But if you're sending instrumental and vocal music, you're going to see way more action with your background, your instrumental tracks. Just because that's what I've seen in my career. That's also what I know from other producers that have been in this industry as long as I have. So that is a fact. That is what we've seen, okay? So if you're getting into a business, any industry, you want to stack the odds of success in your favor, okay? There might be one need for a death metal polka song on one TV show, you know, in 6 months from now. Does that mean you should go spend the next 6 months creating 4 albums worth of death metal polka music? No, because yeah, you might stack up your chances of getting that one placement, but one placement is not going to make or break your bank, right? That's just going to be, you know, it could be a very nice placement, but you need to stack up numbers. You need to have lots and lots of placements if you want this to become a recurring, ongoing, long-term revenue stream for you, okay? So when I say focus on instrumental music and focus on those main popular genres that I teach, it's not an accident, okay? This is exactly what I've done in my career. This is what I see other producers doing and having it work for them, because they're the ones, when they sort of find out exactly what's the most in-demand kind of music that's out there, what needs to be placed the most, and can I create the highest quality version of that with a given library that I'm partnered with, That's the recipe for success, okay? Because what you're doing now is you're stacking the odds in your favor that you're gonna get multiple placements. Of course, you can't guarantee you're gonna get placements. There are plenty of tracks that I've submitted over the years that have never gotten one placement. They're sitting on the shelf and they're lonely and they're sad. And it was, well, we'll see in the future, but up until this point, they were pretty much a waste of time for me because they didn't generate much revenue. But as time went on and I started realizing some of the mistakes I was making and not just wanting to make, and that was the big thing that I started doing is before I would say, well, I want to make X kind of music. One common example, some of you guys have heard this story. I really wanted to get into slow dubstep music with a female vocalist. This is when I was living out in Vegas many years ago, 6 years ago. And I went and hired a vocalist, paid her for a day rate, actually multiple days. She came over, I think basically once or twice a week for a couple of months. We did it was 10 or 12 tracks of songs. I thought they were beautiful. She liked them a lot. To me, they were great songs. And I was thinking, this is kind of a unique, interesting sound, and I didn't run it by my library partners first. I just surprised them with it and said, hey, would you like to do this? And I didn't ask them if there was a demand for this or even research to find out, is this kind of music even getting placed, right? So I spent hundreds of dollars, actually I think thousands, on paying her. And then also the 2 months essentially, or 3 months, whatever it was, down the drain of creating all this I thought was great music. It got rejected by the first library, the one that my main library I was working with at the time. They said, cool, but too slow. We don't really have any clients that need this, so good luck with it. And I was like, what did I just do all that for? Why would what? And of course I took it personally back then, and I thought, like, well, you just don't understand. You don't recognize great music, right? No, it's not a personal thing. They're just saying, listen, cool music, love it. I'd probably listen to it, but I can't do anything with this. There's no clients that need this kind of music. We have no placements that need this kind of stuff. So yeah, thanks, but no thanks. And I still couldn't find a home for it afterwards. And so those 10 tracks, 12 tracks are sitting on my hard drive, and they've been sitting there for 6 years now, or whatever that's been. Complete waste of time, complete waste of resources, didn't get me closer to, expanding my catalog, okay? So learn from my mistakes. Never did that again, okay? I never just went with my whim of whatever I felt like, I think this would be great. And this is what I hear from a lot of producers. I think my music would be great on car commercials. That's, I'm glad that you feel that way. Is that true though? Does your kind of music actually get placed on car commercials? Is that just what you visualize? Because we all think that our music is the greatest, right? Let's be honest. We all think our music is awesome. But have you done the research? Have you actually gone out and watched a lot of these car commercials? Have you researched these libraries that have connections to these car commercials and find out what kind of music do they get placed and what kind of music do they need? And are my tracks up to par with what's going on out there? So that's the kind of research you need to do before you spend time cranking out tons and tons of tracks and going crazy. So anyways, I want to just clarify that because yes, you can find any type of music that gets placed on TV. But if you want to stack up the odds of success in your favor, I still recommend instrumental cues, focus mostly on that, and focus on the main genres that I do recommend. Let me go through a couple of your guys' questions. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat. I'll be here for just a few minutes. Nicholas, my goals just now take less than 8 weeks. Can I write 2 or 3 goals on the Academy sheet? Absolutely. I mean, obviously you need to be realistic. Don't get over ambitious where you feel like you're going to conquer the world in 8 weeks. But if you actually do feel that you can do more than you originally put down, you can change your goal. I mean, we're still in week 1. So I wouldn't put multiple goals down. I would actually just adjust your goal. So whatever your main goal is, just expand it to say, okay, I'm going to create this, this, and this. And that is your goal, right? Like let's say it's 3 sets of different cues or whatever it is you want to do. So don't have 3 different lines on that progress sheet. Just have it all as your one goal. But absolutely, you got to be the judge for yourself though, because I know a lot of us can get really overly ambitious and think we're going to, whatever, just write 3,000 songs or something. So make sure it's realistic, something you can actually do, something you can actually schedule out. Because you'll start the first week. This is how it always going to go. And I can almost guarantee you looking at the Sync 60 progress chart, this is what it's going to look like. First week, almost everybody will say, yes, I accomplished. Second week, 80% will say they did it. Third week, 70%. And you'll see this drop off as time goes on. I hope I don't see that actually. I hope you guys all prove me dead wrong. And I hope everybody following along proves me dead wrong. And I hope everybody achieves their goals. But I've been on planet Earth long enough to know this is what human nature is. A lot of times it is just a matter of sticking with your goal, which is really hard. It's the tortoise and the hare scenario. That's really what it is. The ones that get super excited and they crank out all this music, they burn out, guys. They burn out within a couple of months and they don't do this anymore. This isn't theory. I have students who have done this. Many students who have gone through that process where they're excited, they're on top of the world, they think they're going to conquer this whole business, and 3 months later, nothing. They're not doing it anymore. They burned out. They're not excited about it anymore. They're moving on to something else, okay? Not going to help you out. That's really not going to do you any favors to spin your wheels for 3 months and then give up. It's much better to be realistic and slow and steady. That's really what this recipe for success is. So this is actually going to be a good barometer for a lot of you guys. If you can be one of the few that get all the way to week 8 and say, yes, I accomplished my goal, says a lot about your character, says a lot about your determination, says a lot about your long-term potential to succeed. I know 60 days isn't years and years and years, but that's that will be, you will be probably doing more than probably 90 to 95% of what producers actually can do in terms of make a plan, schedule out for 60 days, and accomplish that goal. 95% of producers and musicians can't do that. I can guarantee you that. Most producers are not able to do that. It is a different kind of a skill set than most of us were really trained and brought up on, especially as musicians, because we were only sort of given praise and adoration for our musicianship and how cool we were at, playing drums or guitar or piano or whatever it was. But the discipline usually didn't come along with that. Some of us, maybe some of you guys did get that discipline, and that's awesome if you did. But a lot of us, it was not exactly given to us that you should learn how to serve a marketplace with that talent so that you can monetize it, right? And you can actually make some money with it. So. Infamous. Hey Jesse, what style of hip hop usually gets placed? Every style you can think of, man. Trap, you can get old school. You can kind of more get smooth, like sexy R&B, like Drake or The Weeknd. You name it, man. Party music, hyped up music. A lot of times you'll get orchestral elements infused into a hybrid sound with hip hop, so you get that really popular with sports programs. So hip hop is pretty much universally accepted in most areas on TV. The one thing though, because everybody makes hip hop, you better bring your A game, okay? No, just finding some loops and putting some loops together and calling, hey, I have a beat now. You better be bringing your A game if you're going to be trying to get into this industry with hip hop. That's what I will say, because hip hop is so common. Everybody makes hip hop. So if you're going to get into a library, you better bring some of the best stuff you can. And make sure that you're bringing music that is on par, or probably, honestly, I think with hip hop, you should bring stuff that's just better than what their library has in their catalog. Which, some libraries and catalogs, especially with Sync Edge, because I do a lot of this research on a monthly basis. Some of them have some pretty terrible hip hop, and you'll be surprised how many of them you can actually probably where you are right now with your production skills, blow past what they have. And I'm always surprised when I hear really bad music in some of these catalogs. They just, for whatever reason, they don't have either, a lot of hip hop people around them, or it's been a while since they've updated that side of their catalog. Whatever the reason is, you got to have some really high quality stuff though to bring to the table for sure. All right, Jermaine Loden. My goal is to make at least 1 track per week in the licensing format, because all my tracks are in a verse hook verse format. Yeah, awesome, man. 1 track a week is certainly a good way to start. And then I would say maybe in your next 60-day goal, you try to go to 1.5, maybe even up to 2 tracks a week, because I do recommend getting to that 2 to 3 tracks a week area. That's where you're going to find the sweet spot, where you're going to build up your catalog. You're going to have enough tracks out there over the coming months and years to start seeing some of those placements actually stack up. 1 track a week, it's a little bit on the slow side, but I understand that you're in the beginning process, so that's good. You start where you are. Again, there's no goal too small with this, okay? If you're right now in the process of, I don't even know how to use Logic Pro or Ableton or whatever it is. Okay, start at the very beginning. Go down to your basics and make sure you understand wherever you need to be. And there's no shame in that. The only shame would be in not doing what you know you need to do, which is learn the fundamentals, learn the basics, and go to a place where you can realistically achieve your next step, right? All right, AFMM. I had a reaction from a library, but they say circle back at the end of March, because it's a bit crazy at this time. I think you sent me an email, actually. I saw your email. Yeah. I would actually say circle back at the end of March. Well, listen to them. They say they're busy right now. Come back to them at the end of March. If you feel like they're a great library for you and you really do feel like that would be a great partnership for you, it's worth waiting a couple of weeks to give them a shot. Okay. In the meantime, what you can do is start creating more music or other kinds of music, whatever you want to do, and maybe partner with or try to reach out to another library, or just create more music. And then at the end of March, reach back out to them. And at that point, they say, cool, come on board. Or we'd like to work with you. We like your music. Then you've spent the last 3 weeks making more music to feed them potentially, right? It's a really good thing. Even if they say, oh, cool, we like the original stuff, but we don't like this new stuff you just made. It's not going to hurt you, okay? You're going to have now new music that you can shop to a new library if you want to split out and do 2 libraries simultaneously, right? Timo Carter, my original thought on my goal was a 10-track album, but maybe more realistically, I should just shoot for one complete track per week and hope for a couple bonus tracks in the end. You need to be the judge of that. One per week is at 8, so you're close enough there. So I don't think that's a bad goal. I mean, if 10 is your lofty ambition and 1 a week, which would be 8, is your sort of safe zone, then shoot for 1 a week. And then when you find some of those weeks where you have a track that just comes to you much quicker, start getting started on the next one. And you might be surprised at the end of the 8 weeks, you might actually not hit your 10 or even more, actually. So, all right. Cool. Awesome, guys. Well, I'm going to hop off here. I'm going to let you guys get back to work because I know that Saturdays and Sundays usually are the golden days for us to actually get work done, especially for those of you that have a day job and you have other commitments. So I know these are your really valuable days. So I'll go ahead and hop off here. So again, last reminder, make sure you do post your hashtag Sync60 goals to your Facebook, to your Twitter, whatever it is you interact with people online, because it creates accountability for yourself. Okay, so don't keep this to yourself. And definitely I would recommend writing it down and putting it on a piece of paper or typing it out, printing it out on your printer, posting it on your wall, your main goal, your weekly goals, however it is that you work best, right? You can do that. Next week's video, we're going to talk about time management. And actually, I'm going to bring on one of the Sync Academy pros. He's going to talk to you guys about how he organizes his day-to-day life, essentially, and his week-to-week goals that he sets for himself. And he has a really interesting strategy to do that. And I think actually a lot of you guys might want to try it to help you sort of keep yourself focused on what your to-do list essentially can be from a day-to-day week process into a week-to-week process. So certainly, definitely watch next week's video. Got one more question here. Does using less loops stand you out to the libraries? I don't know about using less loops makes you stand out, but Patrick, it's a great question. The issue comes with loops, and it's happening more and more now, is because a lot of these, like Splice and Sounds.com, and there's all these sort of pay-as-you-use services coming out that include a lot of loops in them. The problem was when you rely too much on loops, like for your main lead melodies and your chord progressions, you risk creating a track identical to 10 other producers or other writers that might be submitting to the same library. And so you might have conflicting tracks that are going to the same place. And so one of them are going to get rejected. So it's a problem. And also the other reason is that if you use a loop for your main lead in your track and then the library says, oh, we like everything except for that lead melody, can you change that melody or change that sound or do something else? And you're stuck with an audio loop. I mean, you don't really have a lot of options. If it were a MIDI track, you could just swap out the sound, you could change the melody, right? You have a lot more flexibility. So I just say, if you're going to use loops, they need to be auxiliary, not core fundamental parts of your track. So, percussion or background sounds, or maybe, transition sounds, sort of like, ear candy, kind of like the auxiliary stuff that sort of helps support the track, but not a main chord progression, not a main melody. Nothing that absolutely would make or break your track and give it its actual kind of original feel. So that's why I say minimize the loops. Using individual sounds is a different thing, because obviously with individual sounds you can rearrange things and put them differently on your grid and your DAW. So that's a separate thing. But no matter where you're getting your sounds, just don't overly use loops, because you will find yourself in a bunch of trouble and a bunch of headaches down the road. And not to mention, you're going to have identical tracks from other producers. I've actually had it happen with the opportunities that I've offered for my students in the past. I've had, one, I remember one, it was like a tropical pop loop from Splice. And I remember I got like 4 tracks and they all used that same one. So well, guess what? The person who originally sent it to me and got it placed, they got it. Everybody else, I said, nope, can't use it. Sorry, I already have that track. So again, you could be wasting a lot of time if you think that just pulling a loop onto your track is the way to go. It might be quicker in the short run, but in the long run, it'll actually be a lot longer, because you'll face more rejections and you have more headaches down the road. So those are my 2 cents on that. All right, guys, get back to work. Enjoy your weekend. I hope you guys do participate. The video won't be this Monday, because obviously we just released the last one on Friday. So it'll be a week from this Monday. You'll get week 2's video, okay? So stay tuned. A lot of cool stuff is coming your guys' way.